She's outspoken. She's not afraid to ask tough questions. She's not afraid to speak her mind. You've read her column. Maybe you're a fan on Facebook. No topic is off limits. Straight to the point. There's no chaser. You're now watching Straight Talk with Carla Zuill.
Welcome to another edition of Straight Talk. I'm your host, Carla Zuill. Now, today we have with us in studio Mr. Ayo Johnson. Welcome, Ayo. How are you?
Good. Thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure to have you here. Now, you're well known in the community as a journalist, but do people really know who you are? Can you tell us?
I have no idea.
Who is Ayo Johnson?
Ayo Johnson, I am the great grandson of Nana Kobina Egnian, and on the Ghanaian side, West African side, he was a king of the Fantis in the 1800s or thereabouts, and he was exiled to Sierra Leone. So I was born in Sierra Leone as a result of that. Mose Allen, some people might know Mose Allen, Wilfred Allen, is a great uncle of mine. He's one of the Bermudian founders of the Progressive Labour Party. That's my heritage side of things. Today, I think I'm probably best described as a journalist, as you know. I have a pretty strong background in human rights activism as well, and I'm a bit of an entrepreneur. I've been, starting businesses pretty much since I was a teenager in various places in Sierra Leone and now in Bermuda. Anything else?
Well, let's fast forward. Most recently, you were a journalist at The Daily. You're no longer there, and
I was fired.
You were fired. You care to talk about that?
Sure. The chief executive officer, Jonathan Howes, called me up one day and said, today's your last day, get out of here, basically. He wouldn't discuss the reasons why, and that was it.
Okay, without going into too much detail, do you have speculation as to why you were terminated like that?
I certainly do. I would like to not give the institution and the individual too much of my energy and space. This is not to say I'm not going to seek justice. I am seeking justice, okay, because I think it's my responsibility as a Bermudian, as a citizen, in fact, to try to correct clear injustices that I see, whether it's in my own instance or on behalf of other people. Ironically, I've always had a problem fighting on my own behalf, and I found it much easier to actually fight for other people's behalf. So this is actually quite a journey for me. So I would like not to give too much energy to that, but I should say, and we can come back to this when we really start talking about the media. I think I can say that, and I think most people know this, that the Royal Gazette is one of a kind. It's the last of the old racist institutions. In other words, it's from a generation of racist institutions that all have passed. This is the last one standing. What I'm trying to say is the Royal Gazette is the last bastion of institutional racism.
Now, I have to stop you there because we both, let's declare our interests, we both work there at some point in our careers, and I currently still am partially employed by them.
Sure, that's part of the problem, is that if you're a journalist and you're serious about journalism, every journalist should want to work for a national daily newspaper. Mm-hmm. Okay, and there's only one. Okay, so it puts us in a kind of interesting position, in that we know we're working for the last bastion of institutional racism. Okay, and by that I mean, just so your viewers can understand clearly what I'm trying to say, is that the Gazette's first edition rolled off the presses in 1828. Okay, now let's pause and think about what that really means. Okay, so it was born before our ancestors who had been enslaved were emancipated. Okay, and it has missed maybe 1 day of production since 176 years ago. Well, that was Hurricane Emily.
But
okay, so let's understand that it was born in a super racist structured society. Okay, as a racist institution.
But is it fair to still label it that way?
Of course it is, because we haven't had the transformational leadership of that institution. We haven't had the visionary leader that is going to take the bull by the horns and try to change it.
Well, I'm going to be
unless you can tell me
well, I'm going to be devil's advocate, because I had for the years I worked there, I had a great relationship with Bill. Bill Zuill, former editor. And to me, Bill went out of his way to try to ensure that there was not a racist partiality. Now, you were part of that team at the time.
Sure.
Do you think that those moves were not genuine?
I consider Bill a friend. I consider Bill one of the most competent journalists on this island. And Bill hired me. So to your point, of course there was an improvement, okay, in the fact that, yeah, finally I was actually allowed in, right, and I was hired. I'm always disappointed by privileged white folks when it comes to standing up for human rights and justice, especially racial justice. Okay, remember Nancy Acton's saga?
Okay, we're going to pause right there, because when we get back, I want you to answer something. How important is it for blacks in journalism? What is their responsibility? So we'll have more from Io when we return.
And that is a fundamental human rights, okay? Because we know that oppressive systems and oppressive societies, the first thing they do is try to silence people.
More Straight Talk after these messages.